Hi everyone, this is my audio post with my thoughts on the finale episode Operation Mongoose. There are full spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, I suggest not listening for now, maybe coming back to it later. But if you have seen the episode, thank you for tuning in, and off we go. I can't believe quite how quickly the season finale has come around this season. I think maybe it's because I have enjoyed this arc more than I have others so far. The Queens of Darkness were a good introduction. I was a little sceptical in the beginning, as I usually am with the seasons, but I was pleasantly surprised. But I feel that the issue is we've tried to cram so much into a half season again, so we've not had the chance to really delve into these characters properly. Having Maleficent and Ursula's stories kind of crammed into one episode, I feel it didn't really do them justice, and to have them go as soon as they did as well, I hoped that these were the villains that will perhaps stay with us until the next season, and I'm glad it seems that Maleficent is going to stay with us. But disappointed that she wasn't in the finale episode, actually, because I think it would have been nice to see her as a hero in this episode, maybe having had the opportunity to raise Lily and seeing how that impacted her in a way. But that's only a small gripe, I guess. I thought the opening to the episode was interesting, how we had the knight riding off for it to pan out and it be on a TV screen, and for Isaac to be there making his cell. I'll admit I was a bit confused, because I always thought that Isaac had been in the Enchanted Forest the whole time. I hadn't realised that he was someone from our world that was taken to the Enchanted Forest. But I think it's interesting to have someone from our world have so much power and relevance within the lives of the characters in the Enchanted Forest, but ultimately he abused that power, and he'd been living with the consequences of abusing his power. And the episode where he had the opportunity to turn things around, still abusing his power, but to make something of it, to become the star that he wanted to be, only to have it ripped away from him at the end, I thought was a nice touch. I did enjoy watching Henry kind of take control of him, and I don't know if we're going to be seeing more of him in the next season, but I think we could do with a bit more development on his part as well, because at the moment he seems like a very weak character. Perhaps that's the point, that he is so easily pushed around by these other characters. Just like he said, his line at the end was he was fed up of being pushed around by people like Charming, but he was pushed around by Rumpel as well. So I think a bit more strength in his character would be interesting to see. Seeing August again was quite nice. I think it's a shame that he wasn't utilised more this season, especially with him coming back in his various forms, child, adult, wood. Poor August. I also feel quite sorry for Marco, because he had the chance to perhaps live the life that he didn't get with his young son Pinocchio, but that's been ripped away at several points from him, so I feel rather sorry for Marco. Seeing Blue again, I have a soft spot for Blue, as many of you may know. This is a controversial thing, but she is another character that I really am desperate to see more of, and I know that Keegan does other things, so there's scheduling conflicts perhaps, but eventually I want to see more of Blue, her backstory. Why is she the way she is? How did she get to her role? Just questions like that I've always wanted to know about Blue. So back in Gold's shop, we've got the conversation between Isaac and Rumpel, and the topic of Neil that comes up, and how Neil had died considering Rumpel to be a hero. And that it does make me sad, because everything else from that point we've seen a regression in Rumpel's character to the very moment after he'd married Belle, that ultimate betrayal of the vows that he just made. I am hoping that now Rumpel has a clean heart, well, so to speak, that he will have the opportunity to perhaps live the life that he did want, but was always out of his reach, perhaps because of the darkness. I don't know. I just want Rumpel and Belle to live in a fluffy cloud, but it's much more difficult than that now. There is a lot of damage that's been done in that relationship. So I don't want it to be as easy as they just get back together. Or maybe they don't get back together. I haven't in myself decided quite what I want to see in that couple. The next topic was the loft scene. I really am a fan of that set, the whole layout. I just like it. I think it's somewhere that I personally would like to live at some point in my life. It looks cozy, although I haven't quite figured out the logistics of how they all managed to fit so many people into that apartment. It was nice to see an episode that had centred around Henry, because this season we haven't seen an awful lot of him, and for this episode to kind of be driven by him I thought was nice. And I think he's always wanted to play the hero, and in this episode he really got the chance to, so that was also nice to see. I also noticed that when he was walking through the deserted Storybrooke, when he walked past Granny's diner, I think that there was a little windmill outside with it was Tinkerbell, and I thought that was a nice touch. I miss Tinkerbell. I'm coming to terms with the fact that it's unlikely that we'll see her character in Storybrooke again, because Rose has got a fantastic gig with iZombie. So, but it would be nice, perhaps in future, for the role to be revived. I was slightly confused again when Henry found himself in the Enchanted Forest about his clothing, because I can remember at the end of season 3 when Emma and Hook were in the Enchanted Forest, it was this big thing that they needed to fit in and not stand out to kind of give the game away, but this didn't appear to be a problem with Henry. No one seemed to take an issue with him wearing modern clothes and question it. So I don't know if, well, it's not a major point, but it kind of made me question why, in that case, was it a big issue for Emma and Hook to fit in when they had to. I thought it was clever that Henry thought to read the book and then figure out the potential dangers that he would face, and interesting that Isaac fell into the traps of his own creation. And this is the point where we began to see the characters in their alternate roles, seeing Rumpel as the knight. I don't know why, but it made me laugh a little bit. I don't know whether it was seeing Robert Carlyle in a knight's outfit that didn't quite fit him. I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. I did enjoy seeing him in the role of a knight, though, to have the other side of the story, but equally it did make me laugh. And seeing the differences between Snow and Charming and how well that Ginny took on that role. She became an almost neurotic queen, as it were. There were some mannerisms I thought she's bordering on crazy here, but it was very well acted. The whole episode, I feel, was well acted. I was confused with Charming. I needed to pay more attention, obviously, because I forgot who James was for a moment, so I wasn't sure what they were saying, but then remembered it was his twin brother, and it made a bit more sense. I wish we could have seen more of perhaps the reintroduction of Princess Eva as well, in the role of Cora, or how Cora had been towards Regina, whether it would have been a similar relationship with Dark Snow and Leopold as Regina's father. It would have been interesting. I'm glad that we didn't get another rewrite of Snow Falls and that it was its own story, because having seen the rewrite in Snow Drifts and being not very happy with what came of that, I was cautious that that's where they might have been going, but I'm glad that they didn't in the end. There are a few moments in which I thought that the whole idea of the flipping of the realities was a little unclear, because from what I could attain, it was everyone that was perceived to be a villain in the show became a hero and vice versa. But in which case, why did Hood not become a villain? I've always questioned what makes someone a villain in the eyes of the show, because the clearest defining factor that I can find is the murder of someone else. That seems to be what makes someone a villain. But then equally, stealing, Robin Hood, no, he might be doing it on some strange moral compass, but he's stealing. Would that not necessarily make him a villain also? Not to the scale of Regina and Rumpel by any means, but still on the scale of being a villain anyway. And Lily being part of the Queen's, one of the Dark Knights, was confusing to me, because I thought she would be a hero by the flipping of the story also. So it wasn't clear to me at some moments who would become Dark. Equally, Blackbeard, seeing Blackbeard as well, thinking that he would be a hero, and he wasn't what I expected. I didn't quite expect Hook's death in this alternative universe to hit me as hard as it did. I think it might have been seeing Emma react the way she did, and being as devastated as she was might have made me feel a little more than I thought I would. But that surprised me most in the episode, was my reaction to that moment. I was incredibly happy in the scene with Rumpel and Belle that we got another chipped cup. I thought chipped cup would be lost forever, but we got it again. I thought that her outfit in that situation was stunning. I am consistently impressed with Belle's wardrobe, I'll admit. And the seeing Rumpel, Belle and a baby was kind of heart-wrenching in a way, because it's all I'd in the beginning ever wanted to see from them, but thinking and knowing now that it's only possible in this alternative world hurt me a little bit. Seeing the moments between Emma and Regina, starting with the first moment, I thought was important, because what was said in that moment is reiterating the fact that a man doesn't define the happiness of the characters, but also the message that Emma had about love. And through everything, I think the show's ability to kind of drive a message home to the viewers is quite interesting. I definitely can identify with what Emma was saying about love and the fear of admitting that you love someone. So I thought that was interesting. I did, jumping forward a little more, this is kind of out of sync. I gasped when Regina jumped in front of Henry and saved him. That shocked me. And laughing when Emma punched the author. This episode did evoke more of a response out of me than it has done previously as well. A bit later on, when Snow, David and the author, they'd stopped the author from leaving town, I could hear traffic noise at the back of that scene, and it kind of took me out of the moment a bit more. It was loud and I became more tuned in with the sound of the traffic and wasn't really listening to what was being said in that moment. The fact that Henry is the new author, I think, is a really nice touch as well, because he has always wanted to be a part of this thing that everyone else in Storybrooke is a part of, but he is in his own way, and now he has more of a connection to the stories. And the dilemma of bringing Neil back, I think, was sad and confusing, because the author, from the sorcerer's point of view, isn't capable of bringing people back from the dead, but there seem to have been so many loopholes at this point from bringing characters back from the dead that I find it hard to believe that it's that difficult now. My biggest issue with the show, I think, is when someone's dead, they're dead, but they're not now, through some miraculous form or other. Seeing baby Neil in this episode, he hasn't been used an awful lot, considering that he was a major concern of Snow's at the beginning of the season, where she could barely put the baby down, to the point where he hasn't been very present in the episode so far is a little unbelievable as well. It seems odd to have had that massive change in Snow from the beginning of the season to this point where he's off with Granny, Belle, list more characters. The revelation that the sorcerer is Merlin didn't come as a massive surprise to me, as I'd always thought that this would have been the route that the show would go down. I'm a little cautious about how this story is going to unfold, whether they're going to perhaps pull on some of the parts that the BBC series had, using some of that story. I'm hoping that they remain, or they create something original, that they put their own spin on it rather than relying on something that we've had previously. And obviously the dynamic ending of Emma becoming the new Dark One. I think this is another thing that a lot of people had seen coming for a few weeks, but I am very interested to see how this plays out, how it changes dynamics in the characters, what the implications of it are, seeing people work together to help her overcome the darkness and find a way to the new vessel. And finding the sorcerer obviously is going to be the biggest element of the next season, it seems. Overall, I thought this was a strong finale. I liked seeing the changes in the characters, and the switching of the universe was interesting. For season 5, I hope that we don't get an awful lot of new characters. I think I'd be quite happy to just see a storyline that involved the sorcerer and the quest to find him, and I'm guessing they're going to encounter people along the way. Maybe we'll see Lancelot again. He was introduced in season 2, so if anyone, I'd be interested to see him reintroduced and established into the cast. It's a few months away, so hiatus ensues. I'm sure that it's going to feel very long, but I'm quite looking forward to the next season and seeing what comes of it. I think perhaps this might be the final season, so I'm hoping that they'll work towards some form of resolution in the story, and that we're not left in a situation where we have a cliffhanger, it just ends and we haven't got any answers that we might need. But who knows? I guess it depends how well the next season goes. So thank you everyone on this note for the support, all of the new followers, all of my existing followers that have remained throughout this season. Thank you for all of the confessions, and I hope that you will stick around for the next season. I have an announcement that I'll be putting out later today with regards to a giveaway / competition that I'll be holding that should keep you all busy throughout the long hiatus, and look out for that. Thank you for listening.